By the time the undertaker carted off Torrance's wounded body and his dead hired guns, the sun had begun to slip behind the ridge. Deadman's Gulch stood still, not with fear this time, but with reverence. A lie had died in the street that day, and in its place, something better was born. Cole McAllister sat on the church steps, blood-stained hat in his lap, watching the wind rustle through the cottonwoods near the chapel. It felt like the first deep breath he'd taken in 10 years. Jackson Crow stood beside him, arm wrapped in a sling, watching Abigail help the undertaker cover a body. Neither man spoke for a long while, but there was peace in the silence now. Finally Jackson said, "You know, I spent most of my life trying to live up to him, Isaac. Thought being sheriff meant never doubting yourself." Cole nodded. "But doubt keeps you honest. You got a good heart, Jackson. That's more than Torrance ever had. And you?" Jackson asked, looking down at him. "You planning to stay?" Cole looked out at the street, battered, blood-slicked, but alive. "Don't reckon I've got anywhere else to go," Jackson smirked. "Good. Town could use a man who knows when not to shoot." Inside Isaac's old office, Abigail placed the journal gently on the shelf, next to the Bible and the worn old ledger Isaac once kept. She looked up as Cole stepped in. "You're limping," she said. "Got clipped in the hip." "Bullet just kissed me. I always said you had more luck than sense." They smiled, not the kind born of flirtation, but of shared scars. She handed him something. "The badge." "He would have wanted you to have it," she said. Cole stared at it, then handed it back. "No," he said. Before we jump back in, make sure you subscribe, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special just for you. Another story, another secret, and maybe a whisper you weren't meant to hear. He'd want you to wear it. You kept this town going long after we left it behind. Her eyes glistened, but she nodded and slipped the badge into her coat pocket. Outside, lanterns were being lit along the boardwalk. Folks walked slower now, tipping hats, offering nods, whispering words like, "I thought he was dead. Turns out he just had unfinished business." Maybe McAllister wasn't a villain after all. Cole brushed down ash in the warm glow of the oil lamp. She nickered softly, nudging his hand like she understood what the day had cost him. "It's over, girl," he whispered. "We made it back." From behind him, Jackson spoke. "I wired the judge. Torrance will face trial in the Capitol. With that journal and Abigail's testimony, he won't see the outside of a cell again." "Good." Jackson hesitated. "Town's gonna need a new lawman. I can't keep doing it alone." Cole raised an eyebrow. "You offering me the badge?" "No," Jackson said with a half smile. "I'm offering you a choice. You don't owe this town a damn thing, but if you stay, it could mean something." Cole looked down at his hands, scarred, calloused, still stained with blood that wasn't his. "I'll think about it," he said. That night, Cole walked to the top of the hill behind the church. The graveyard shimmered in moonlight. He stood before Samuel McAllister's headstone. Then Isaac Crow's, two men who shaped him, one with anger, one with hope. "You were both right in your own ways," he whispered. "Took me a long time to understand that." He reached into his coat, pulled out a small wooden cross he'd carved himself. He planted it beside Isaac's grave, then turned to the town. Lights flickered below like stars fallen to earth. Time to stop running. It didn't happen all at once. A town doesn't change in a day, not even after bullets fly and truth shouts louder than lies. But Deadman's Gulch had felt something shift the day Cole McAllister stood his ground. It wasn't just that Eli Torrance had fallen. It was that someone had finally stood up to him and lived. 3 days after the duel, the saloon reopened, not with a toast, but a town meeting. Inside, the crowd was quiet, packed elbow to elbow. No whiskey flowed. No poker hands played. Instead, Abigail Crow stood behind the bar, hands clasped in front of her, with Jackson at her side and Cole standing near the door. "We're done letting fear run this town," she said. "Done letting men like Torrance buy their way into our homes, our fields, and our children's futures." Some nodded. Others looked down. "He ain't the last snake we'll face," she continued. "But we've proven now we know how to bite back." Jackson stepped forward, lifting the old badge for all to see. "This used to mean something. Then we let it rust. That changes now. Who'll wear it?" someone called out. "You?" Jackson looked to Cole. All eyes followed. Cole held their gaze a moment, then shook his head. "I came back to make things right," he said. "Not to be a sheriff. That job belongs to someone who wants to build, not just bury the past." He looked at Abigail. "She's already been doing the job longer than any of us." A pause. Then, from somewhere in the crowd, "I'll vote for her." Then another, "So will I," and another. "She already saved us." By the time the meeting ended, the vote was unanimous. Deadman's Gulch had its new sheriff. And for the first time in a decade, the people walked out into the street, a little taller. Cole helped rebuild the broken door at the general store, hammered nails for the undertaker's new gate, delivered feed for the ranch hands who used to eye him like a rattler. Now they greeted him with silent nods, respect, earned the hard way. He passed the old schoolhouse and saw the children practicing quick draws with sticks, arguing over who got to be McAllister and who had to be Torrance. He chuckled under his breath. "Already being turned into a legend," he muttered. Abigail sat behind the sheriff's desk, papers stacked in tidy rows. The journal Isaac once wrote in now sat beside her inkpot, a reminder of why she'd taken the job. Cole knocked once and stepped inside. "Got a minute?" "Always." He dropped a bundle of envelopes on the desk. "Land leases, Torrance." "Manipulated." Jackson found him in the back room of the bank. "Folks'll want their property back." She looked up at him. "And what do you want, Cole?" He hesitated. "A clean slate," he said. "Don't need statues or stories. Just a life where I ain't hiding anymore." She nodded slowly. "You've got that now, if you want it." "Think I do." There was no kiss, no promises, just an understanding. Two people carrying heavy pasts. Two people learning how to let go. Cole saddled Ash again, packed light. Jackson handed him a folded paper. "Marshal's office down in Sutter's Gap needs a trail scout. They know your name." "I told him you'd earned a better one." Cole nodded. "You staying on as deputy?" "Unless Abigail fires me." "She won't. You still got more to learn." "Like what?" "Like how not to shoot a man in the leg for a skin a question." They both laughed. Then Jackson stuck out his hand. Cole took it. A full shake, no grudges. Just brothers by choice, not blood. Cole turned one last time to look at the town. Shutters painted, streets swept, faces changed. No longer a ghost town, no longer a lie, a town reborn. Because one man rode back in, not to haunt it, but to heal it. He mounted Ash, tipped his hat to Abigail watching from the boardwalk, then rode into the morning sun. The trail out of Deadman's Gulch was old, worn, and lined with ghosts. Cole McAllister didn't ride fast. He didn't need to. He wasn't fleeing. For the first time in 10 years, he was leaving on his own terms. The plain stretched wide. Before him, the sun warming his shoulders as Ash carried him into the wind. Wildflowers dotted the hills, and birds circled overhead. For the first time in years, Cole noticed them. Not as warnings, not as omens, but as life. He reached into his saddlebag, pulling out a folded page from Isaac's journal. A line underlined in pencil, "When the law fails, the truth must ride faster." Cole folded it gently and tucked it back into his coat. "We're still ridden." "Isaac," he muttered, "just talking a different trail now." He made camp beneath a sycamore tree, stars blooming above him. Ash chewed dry grass nearby. Coyotes howled in the distance. Cole stirred a tin of beans over the fire and stared into the embers. "They'll tell the story wrong," he said softly to no one. He imagined children years from now saying his name in the same breath as Wild Bill or Jesse James. Some would call him a hero, others an outlaw. Both would be wrong. He pulled out his old revolver, spun the chamber. Empty. He hadn't reloaded since the day of the duel. "Don't reckon I need you anymore," he whispered. He wrapped the gun in cloth and placed it in the bottom of his pack. The road to redemption is longer than the road to ruin. And heavier. Because when you're running from your past, you don't stop to think about the footprints you leave. But when you're walking toward your future, you start noticing every step. Cole rode into a dusty town half the size of Deadman's Gulch. No church bell. No saloon music. Just silence and wind. He tied Ash at the rail and stepped into the marshal's office. The man behind the desk had a paunch belly, white whiskers, and a badge so worn it looked more like tin than silver. "You McAllister?" "That's right." Crow sent word. "Said you got a steady hand and a straight back. He's generous." The marshal grunted and tossed him a small leather pouch. "You're not getting a badge." "Not yet. But you ride with me, keep the trails safe, you'll earn it." Cole nodded. "Just point the way," and so he did. Cole rode again. Not as an outlaw, not as a legend, but as a man trying to put more right into the world than wrong. In the sheriff's office, Abigail Crow opened a package addressed in neat, blocky handwriting. Inside was a small wooden box. She lifted the lid. Inside was a folded note. "Keep this for someone who needs it." "I don't anymore. See." And beneath it, wrapped in soft cloth, Cole's revolver. Unloaded, clean, and beside it, a carved piece of cedar wood, the shape of a horse in motion. A memory, a promise, a quiet goodbye. Abigail held the piece in her hand and smiled, though her eyes stung with tears. "Ride well, Cole," she whispered, "wherever the trail takes you." Sutter's Gap was too quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, the kind that sets teeth on edge. The kind that means something is out of place. Cole McAllister felt it the moment he rode back into town after 3 days scouting the hills. The saloon door hung crooked. 2 windows were boarded. A bullet had chipped the post outside the marshal's office. Ash's ears flicked. So did Cole's instincts. Trouble had come through while he was gone. Marshal Deke Granger met him on the porch with a rifle slung across his chest and a face like cracked leather. "Glad you're back," he said. "We've had visitors." "Who?" "Young ones, gunslingers, ridden fast and talking loud." "What do they want?" "A name." Granger spat into the dirt. "Yours." It didn't take long to find them. They were camped outside town near the old mill. 5 of them. 2 barely out of their teens. One a twitchy-eyed sharp talker with silver rings on every finger. And at their center, Wade Conroy. Tall, handsome, hungry, and dangerous in that special way that only the young and untested ever truly are. Cole approached slow, unarmed, arms relaxed at his sides. "You looking for me?" he asked plainly. Conroy grinned wide. "McAllister in the flesh. Hellfire boys, I told you he'd come." "What do you want?" Cole asked. "Legacy." "Wrong place. You got a reputation," Conroy said, swaggering forward. "Deadman's Gulch. Torrance. That showdown made it all the way to Colorado. I figure if I take you down, I get a legend." "You figure wrong. You runnin' scared?" Cole stepped closer. Looked the kid straight in the eye. "You don't even know what blood tastes like yet, do you?" The fire around the camp cracked. The wind picked up. One of the boys reached for his gun, but Wade held up a hand. "Not here, not yet," Conroy said. "Tomorrow, high noon. Street outside the saloon." "You sure?" Cole said. It won't end the way you think. Oh, I hope it don't, Conroy said with a wicked grin. Makes for a better song. Cole sat with Marshal Granger, watching the lamplight flicker across the walls. You could run, Granger said. Ain't no shame in avoiding a fool with a gun. Maybe once, Cole answered. But not now. I duck this, they'll think. Fear earns respect, it don't. You're gonna kill him. Only if he makes me. Cole sat awake most of the night, whittling the edge of a cedar stick. He thought of Isaac, of Jackson, of Abigail, and of all the boys who died trying to become legends. The town gathered slow. Dust rose. The air held its breath. Wade Conroy stood tall, dressed in dark gray, silver belt buckle catching the sun. Cole stepped into the street, his hand steady, coat flapping in the breeze. Still time to walk away, he said. I don't run, Wade answered. That's not brave, Cole said. It's just blind. A pause, then the bell rang. Wade drew first. Fast, too fast, his shot flew wide. Cole didn't miss. One shot, clean, through the shoulder. Wade screamed, spun, dropped to the dirt. The silence was thunderous. Cole stepped over, kicked the pistol away. You're alive. That's your legend, he said. Now go earn it proper. Wade looked up, stunned. You didn't. Kill me? No. But you come back here with another bright idea, I won't be so kind. By sundown, the gang was gone. The town still quiet, but not with fear, with respect. Granger leaned back in his chair, puffing a pipe. That was something. Never seen a man win a duel without killing his enemy. Killing's easy. Cole said, takes more to let him live, Granger nodded. You sure you don't want a badge? Cole smiled. Not yet. 2 weeks after the standoff in Sutter's Gap, the dust had settled again. The town was calm. The gunfire was just an echo. And Cole McAllister was for once a man without a target. He wasn't running. He wasn't chasing. He was still. And that scared him more than a loaded pistol. Marshal Granger had gone south to escort a prisoner, leaving Cole to watch over the town in his absence. Nothing official, just keep an eye out. But that badge? It still sat untouched on the desk. Cole passed it every day. Looked at it like a stranger in a mirror. Cole sat whittling as the stagecoach rattled into town. A familiar face stepped down. Jackson Crow, dusty, travel-worn, and grinning like he knew something. Heard you shot. A kid clean through and didn't kill him, Jackson said, climbing the steps. Heard you're still wearing that sling like it's fashion, Cole replied with a smirk. Doctor says I can take it off. I told him I'd keep it till the sympathy dried up. They laughed real and easy. Then Jackson got serious. I'm here for a reason, Cole. Abigail sent me. That name made Cole sit up straighter. Jackson pulled a letter from his coat and handed it over. Cole didn't open it right away. Just stared at the handwriting. Smooth, clean, familiar as a heartbeat. Letter, Abigail's. Cole, the town's rebuilding faster than we thought. We're laying a new church foundation. Kids are back in school. Folks are planting again, not just crops, but trust. They ask about you, not in whispers anymore, but in stories. If you're ready to come back, not as a ghost, not as a gun, but as a man with a name, a place is here for you. I won't pretend it'll be easy. Peace never is. But maybe we've both earned a little of it. Come home, Abigail. Cole folded the letter and didn't speak for a long time. Jackson let the silence stretch. You'd be welcome, he said finally. Hell, Abigail's got the town hanging on your redemption arc like it's scripture. I ain't a preacher, Cole muttered. No, but you are something. That kid you spared, word got around. You're not just the gun who cleaned up Torrance. You're the man who stopped shooting. That means something. Cole sat alone again under the stars, letter in hand. He could almost hear her voice reading it. Almost smell the cedar from her office, feel the weight of the town, pressing in behind every word. He still didn't know if he deserved it. But maybe deserve wasn't the point. Maybe choice was. Ash nudged him. He scratched her behind the ear. "You ready to go home, girl?" She nickered. "Yeah, me too." Cole rode with the morning. Behind him, the plains shimmered gold. The sky was wide, forgiving. And ahead, nestled in the shadow of the ridge, was the town that once spit his name like poison. Now it waited. Maybe not with open arms, but with open eyes. He passed the sign at the edge of town. "Welcome to Deadman's Gulch, founded 1823, rebuilt 1879. He stopped, pulled a piece of charcoal from his pocket. And under rebuilt 1879, he scratched a single word, redeemed. Then rode on. Deadman's Gulch looked different in the daylight. Not newer, not cleaner, just alive. The windows weren't shuttered anymore. The children didn't flinch at loud sounds. Folks nodded at Cole without looking away. But still, there were eyes that lingered too long. Memories that hadn't fully forgiven. He understood that. Hell, he welcomed it. Cole walked Main Street like a man stepping into an old dream. The buildings were the same, but everything else had changed. Especially him. He wasn't the outlaw anymore. But he wasn't sure what he was, not yet. Cole stood at Isaac Crow's grave, hat in hand. The grass had grown tall, soft and windblown. A fresh coat of white paint covered the fence. He knelt and placed a small rock on the headstone, a custom from the old country. A sign someone remembered. "I came back," he whispered. Not for vengeance, not for justice, just to be whole again. The wind answered softly, and for the first time, the ache in his chest eased. Abigail sat behind her desk, sorting through reports. Her badge caught the lamplight. She looked up as Cole entered. Their eyes met, and the silence between them was intense. "It was earned. You came," she said. "Wasn't sure I would," he replied. "And now, still ain't sure." She gave a small smile. "Sit." He did. "You want the job?" she asked, blunt. "Which one?" "Deputy. Maybe more, if you earn it. You trust me with that?" She leaned back. "I trust who you are now. And I know who you were. That man's still in there," Cole admitted. "He don't go quietly." "No devils ever do," she said. "But you can bury him, day by day." For a long time, they sat in quiet. Two people who had loved and lost and lived through fire. That night Cole walked into the saloon, not with a gun, but with open hands. He stood at the bar. Folks stared. One man stood, an old rancher named Blevins, who'd once cursed Cole's name. "You got nerve coming in here." Cole didn't flinch. "I do, but I also got time. Time to make things right. One board, one barn, one apology at a time." Blevins squinted, then sat back down. "Well, reckon that's a start." They wouldn't all forgive him overnight. Some might never, but he'd returned not to erase the past, but to answer it every day, with deeds, not words. Cole sat alone, looking at the stars. The town was quiet. The devil inside him still whispered. Of revenge, of running, of roads. Easier to ride. But now, there was another voice, stronger. Not Isaac's, not Abigail's, his own. "I ain't that man anymore." And for the first time, he believed it. The morning began like any other. Sunlight slipped through the gaps in Deadman's Gulch's storefronts. The smithy hammer rang like a heartbeat. The scent of bread drifted from the baker's chimney. Cole McAllister was helping repair a fence near the edge of town when Jackson rode up, eyes hard. "You need to see this." "What is it?" "Ledger from Torrance's old land office. Turns out someone's been pulling strings long before Torrance made his move." He handed over a weathered journal. "Look at the names, Jackson." Sighed. "Page 18. Cole flipped it open. The ink had faded, but the handwriting was sharp. Land parcels, bribes, secret payments. And there it was, circled in red pencil. W. Crow, payment delivered. Second half due on acquisition. Cole stared. W. Crow, that can't be. It ain't me, Jackson said. But I reckon we both know who else it could be. Walter Crow, Isaac and Jackson's uncle, once trusted. Now suspect. Cole remembered the man, gruff, with a banker's eye and a preacher's grin. He'd left town right after Isaac's funeral, claiming business up north. Never came back. You sure? Abigail asked, staring at the name in disbelief. Torrance. Paid someone to grease the wheels, Cole said. Looks like Walter might have sold out his own blood. She swallowed hard. He handled Isaac's accounts. Ran the land registry for a while. If he forged documents to help Torrance, then he helped kill your brother. Abigail stood, face pale. He's in Silver Hill now, banker, big name. We send this ledger to the judge, he goes down. We could, Cole said slowly, or we ride there ourselves. You want to face him? I want to hear him. Why? Cole looked down at the ledger. Because justice ain't just about punishment. It's about truth. The town was taller, cleaner, stone buildings and polished boots. Cole and Abigail rode in under gray skies, dust trailing behind them. The bank stood like a fortress. And behind its heavy oak doors sat Walter Crow, older, heavier, but still sharp-eyed. He looked up as they entered, froze. Abigail Cole, well, this is a surprise. We found your name, she said, in Torrance's books. Walter's. Smile cracked. I don't know what you think. I think you helped a killer, Cole said. For gold, maybe for fear, but you helped. Walter's facade faltered. He dropped into his chair, breathing heavy. I didn't know he'd kill Isaac. I thought he'd buy the land. That's all. You sold out your nephew, Abigail snapped. He was stubborn. Walter barked. Wouldn't play ball. Wouldn't take the offer. He could have lived easy. He died. Honest, Cole said. Can you say the same? Walter looked away. Said nothing. Abigail stepped forward, journal in hand. This ledger's going to the judge. Walter didn't argue, didn't beg, didn't cry. He just nodded, defeated. The sky wept rain as they rode back. Cole didn't say much. Neither did Abigail. Some betrayals don't come with closure, only consequence. That night, they placed Walter's name beside Torrance's in the records. The town didn't celebrate. They remembered, they rebuilt a little more, and trusted a little wiser. Cole sat under the same sycamore behind the church, rain pattering on his coat. He whispered Isaac's name once, like a prayer, and then let it go. The rain came soft at first, soaking the dirt roads and washing dust from the roofs of Deadman's Gulch. Then it stayed. 3 days, steady and gray, no thunder, no wind. Just the sound of water cleaning what fire once scarred. In the stillness of it, Cole McAllister walked the length of town each day. Not patrolling, not hiding, just present. Folks tipped there. Hats, some offered bread. Others just gave him space. But it wasn't fear anymore. It was respect. Earned slow, like trust always is. Cole stood in front of Samuel McAllister's grave for the first time in years. He hadn't come back to this patch of dirt since the day he buried him, angry, broken, too young to understand hate and love could wear the same face. He dropped to one knee, placed a tin cup of whiskey on the stone. Let the rain mix with tears he didn't wipe away. You were hard, he said, but you made me strong. I spent years hating that, and you. He placed his hand on the stone. But I know now you were fighting your own war. And I made mine worse by running from yours. He stood. We're square now, Pa. Abigail found him there. He sat in the back pew, soaked, silent, staring at the pulpit like it might offer an answer. She sat beside him without a word. After a long pause, she asked, "You still hear him? The ghosts? Every time it's quiet. Think they'll ever stop?" "No," Cole said. "But I don't think I want him to. They remind me who I was, what I owe. And what do you owe now?" He looked at her. "A life, one that means something. One that doesn't run when it hurts." She took his hand then, fingers calloused, rough from work and war, and held it like something worth saving. "You already earned that life, Cole." "Maybe, but I want to live it now." Cole helped a teenage boy named Eli hammer nails into a new stall door. The boy's arm shook with each strike, but he didn't quit. "I ain't strong like you," Eli muttered. "That's where you're wrong," Cole said. "Strength ain't just in muscle, it's in getting back up." The boy nodded, eyes lighting with pride, and Cole smiled, a real smile. The next week, he fixed a school roof. He hauled crates for the grocer. He mended a rail at the edge of town. Small things. But in towns like Deadman's Gulch, small things make all the difference. She brought him coffee as they sat watching the sun cut through the rain clouds. The streets glistened gold. Children chased dogs through puddles. Cole sipped slow. "I never thought I'd see this place whole again," he said. "It ain't perfect." "No, but it's honest." They sat in silence, not because there was nothing to say, but because some things didn't need words. Grief doesn't leave. It changes. It goes from fire to ash, then to rain. And sometimes, if you're patient enough, even rain grows. Flowers. Cole stood that night by the well, watching the stars blink back into the sky. And for the first time in his life, he didn't feel like a man waiting for something to go wrong. He felt like a man standing where he belonged. Summer came early to Deadman's Gulch that year. The rains passed, leaving behind fresh green on the hills and wildflowers blooming along the ridge. The town stirred with quiet joy, the kind that sneaks in after hard years, cautious but real. And for the first time since he was a boy, Cole McAllister felt like he wasn't standing at the edge of the world. He was part of it. Then came the letter. It arrived on a Tuesday, sealed with a red wax emblem, the federal marshal's mark. To Cole McAllister, regarding full reinstatement and long-range commission. Cole held the letter like it weighed. More than a pistol. Abigail read it over his shoulder. "That's quite the offer," she said softly. "Traveling circuit. Deputize men. Teach recruits. Ride free across 5 states. It's everything I used to want," Cole said. "Back when I thought redemption was about doing. Now I'm not so sure." She looked at him. "So what is it about?" "Staying. Showing up every day. Choosing quiet over glory. But what if I'm meant for more than fences? And wagon wheels? And what if this is the most important thing?" she asked. "What if staying is the greater courage?" For the first time in months, Cole didn't know what to do. He walked the perimeter of town that evening, watching children play in the dusty glow. The wind carried laughter and hammer blows. Abigail's badge still shone bright from her coat. Peace had a rhythm here. But the road, it still called, not with blood, with purpose. Cole stood brushing ash under the stars. Jackson approached. Silent as usual. "Heard about the offer," Jackson said. "You think I should take it?" "I think you already know your answer. You just don't like what it says." Cole didn't reply. "You ain't the man you were when you rode back here. But you also ain't done. Not yet. You sound like Isaac," Cole said with a smile. "He'd say the same thing I will." Jackson replied, "The badge ain't what makes the man. The man makes the badge." Cole sat with the unopened envelope in his lap. Abigail joined him. Neither said a word for a while. Then she asked, "If you go, will you come back?" "I don't know." "Then answer this. What legacy do you want, Cole?" He looked out over the rooftops. "One that don't start with blood. One that ends with hope." She placed her hand over his. Then maybe it's time to stop chasing and start planting. He didn't burn the letter. He didn't write off either. Instead, he folded it neatly and placed it in a drawer. Not as a rejection, not as acceptance, but as a reminder that he had a choice. That afternoon, he helped a widow fix her front gate, hammered new hinges, laughed with her children. Later, he read with the schoolhouse kids, the McAllister kids, as they now called themselves, stick pistols at their sides and justice in their eyes. And when the sun dipped behind the ridge, he stood with Abigail on the boardwalk and watched the lanterns flicker on. This was the edge of legacy, not the end, not the beginning. Just the moment when a man decides what story he wants carved on his stone, not the one he's been given. They say legends ride off into the sunset. But Cole McAllister didn't. He stayed. Weeks passed, then months. And Deadman's Gulch, once a name spat out in fear, became a town whispered with pride. They rebuilt the church, repainted the school. The saloon lost its last bloodstain. And through it all, Cole was there. Not as a sheriff, not as a hero, but as a man who showed up. He fixed roofs. He drove cattle. He read bedtime stories to orphans who called him Mr. Cole in the softest voices. Sometimes he stood by the fence at sundown, tipping his hat to the graves on the hill. And when storms rolled in, he kept the lanterns lit. The town held its first harvest fair in over a decade. Children ran races. Pies cooled on tables. Abigail judged the best corn by taste and the sharpness of the husk. Cole manned the horseshoe toss. Not one child beat him. He let them think they had. Laughter rang louder than any gunshot ever had. At dusk, Jackson played a fiddle by the fire. Abigail sat beside Cole on a bench made from the old gallows wood, now carved with wildflowers. "You still think about leaving?" she asked. Cole thought a moment. "No, not anymore." "Why not?" "Because I stopped trying to make up for who I was and started living like the man I want to be." She smiled. "You are that man, Cole." He didn't reply. He just reached out and took her hand. And for the first time, they didn't let go. In time, the name Cole McAllister would live in stories. Some say he was faster than lightning. Others say he never missed. But those who lived in Deadman's Gulch knew the truth. He wasn't remembered for the duel, but for the days after. For the man who helped fix fences. For the man who forgave. For the man who stayed. Years later, when Cole was gone, the town built a small statue in front of the school. Not of him with a gun, but of him sitting on the church steps, hat in hand, smile small, children at his feet. The plaque read, "Cole McAllister, the man who came home." And beneath it, "Justice is the start, mercy is the legacy." And that, folks, was the last duel in Deadman's Gulch. The story of a man who lost everything, then found the courage to become something more. Not through gunfire, but through grace. Cole McAllister didn't ride off into the sunset. He stayed. And in doing so, he taught us something. That real strength isn't in how fast you draw, but in how long you stand for what's right. If this story moved you, if it lit a fire in your chest, or softened something in your heart, I invite you to become part of our growing campfire here at Whispers of the West. Subscribe for more tales of grit, redemption, and quiet heroes. The kind the world almost forgot. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think makes a man truly worthy of legend. And as always, ride straight, speak true, and remember, sometimes the bravest thing a gunslinger can do is lay down his gun